state. So it's no big thing. Just look in the yellow pages and for all state and call Marilyn Hildred for your insurance.
Well, Miss Hunter, we have a surprise for all of our listening audience. Right now, we're going to go live and on the phone. And Mrs. Hunter, our favorite announcer today on the Visit with Clara Luper radio show, and none other than Clara Luper will be talking, and then we'll get an opportunity for all of us to hear what's happening in Shreveport, Louisiana, where the NACP Youth Council, the NACP, is having their regional meeting. Now we go live to Clara Luper and Mrs. Letty Ruth Hunter in Shreveport, Louisiana. How are you doing, Mom?
I'm doing fine. And a special good evening to the people in Oklahoma. This is Clara Luper, and this part of our program is being brought to you by Marilyn Hildred, your Allstate agent, who is also here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Standing by me is a specialist in this area. I've seen him grow up in NACP, and I'm very happy to present to the people in Oklahoma Dr. Raphael Casimir that will explain to you what is happening down here.
By all means, do.
Yes, good afternoon to all my friends in Oklahoma. We in Shreveport at the 40th anniversary of Louisiana, Arkansas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas regional training session. We've been discussing some very important issues from homeless for the poor, voter registration, political action, education, and we're going to have some very important sessions in the afternoon and high school dropout returning to school. But probably the most important session that we are dealing with in the NAACP today is the resurgence of racism in the United States. And of course, we have examples of it not only in the South, but all over the country. We are trying to resensitize NAACPers to the need to be vigilant as they were in the 1960s and 1970s. We are receiving reports, but many of these people, of course, have not personally experienced them in a long time. We want them to be aware of them. They're no longer as subtle as they used to be. Much of the activities are in the open. And I think those of you who are listening in Oklahoma realize that what I'm saying is not unique to this part of the country. We wish that we could say that everything was fine, but it's not. But we're working on the problem, and we're hoping that with support from people like your listening audience that next year we can report some solid progress in 1989.
Well, I want to thank you so very much for bringing us up on the happenings there in Louisiana, especially at the national meeting for the NAACP. And I'm wondering if Clara has some information that she would like to relate to us.
Okay, I'll put it on. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. I'm now surrounded by a group of probably some of the most brilliant people in America. Mr. Soniat, who was a candidate for the House of Representatives in New Orleans, Louisiana, is here, and certainly I would like for him to say hello to the people in Oklahoma.
Hello? Brother Soniat, this is Calvin Luper. How are you doing?
Oh, good to talk with you.
All right. What's your full name? What's your full name, Doc?
Well, Soniat, just Lou Soniat.
Lou Onion Soniat.
Yeah.
How did that candidacy go?
Well, what happened is that I got a runoff with a person who was supported by the present mayor, a black woman.
Right.
And what happened is that the incumbent didn't run, so now we have a black woman in the House. I didn't win.
Oh, I know it was great. Well, Brother Soniat, I know that you've been an NACP youth advisor for, about 19, 20 years now almost?
1960.
Since 1960.
Right.
That's 28 years. Congratulations on being with the #1 Civil Rights Organization Youth Division for that long. Right. Always vying against Oklahoma City. Well, what's going on at the regional meeting there in Shreveport?
Oh, the youth are so dynamic. And, your mother and your sister, the ones who really carried us through.
Well, you must remember we're on the radio show. Tell everybody their names because I'm proud of my family.
Right. We're talking about Marilyn Luper and Clara Luper.
All right. What about little Shelley? What about Shelley?
She did such a good job presiding this morning. Yeah,
okay.
She got it completely cold. She didn't know anything about it until she was coming on.
And what about the rest of that delegation that we sent down the Shreveport in your territory now?
Yeah,
we sent some talent down there.
That's
Dante
right,
Patterson, Alicia Hildred, Nante Patterson. All of our young people are down there.
Oh, yeah, always a big delegation out of Oklahoma.
And talented, say that too.
And talent.
Okay, well, you heard that live here on the Clara Luper radio show here in Oklahoma City. Mr. L.J. Soniat, a regional member of our region, a young man that's been with the NACP Youth Division since 1960 as a youth council advisor, a great friend. He's done a lot to help all of us across the country. Mr. Soniat, is there something special you'd like to say to our most intelligent listening audience here in Oklahoma City?
Well, we tell them to keep up the fight for freedom because the struggle is still going on.
All right, and congratulations. Say, tell me this. I haven't seen you in a while, but how are your sons doing?
They're doing fine.
Right. Okay. And are they politically aspired too? Are they still working in NACP?
They're still with the youth council. In fact, my son's son is the treasurer for the youth council, but he didn't come with us on this trip, so he's going to accompany us to Washington D.C. this summer.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, brother Sonia. This has been a
Calvin,
pleasure talking to you.
Here in this beautiful hotel, the Radisson Hotel here. And as I look at our young people who are certainly on the move, this morning I saw a group of young people from Fort Worth, Texas, 30, who did a salute to Martin Luther King in music. It was unbelievable. I see young people from universities in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, all here. I would like to add the fact that Shelley presided this morning really gave something.
Shelley Marie, the president of the Oklahoma City branch NACP Youth Council?
She was programmed to preside at a business meeting and did a terrific job. I'm also proud of Alicia Hildred, Nate, and Dante, who are out here doing an outstanding job. But when you think of our young people, and when you see young people down here, can you imagine 30 young people down here singing the spirituals, singing hymns, reciting words like you have never seen before? And when you think of the large crowd that's here, they are all now being confined in a luncheon that's been quite exciting. Mr. Soniak from Louisiana and I will have the opportunity this evening, in fact at 3 o'clock, to lead a panel. We will be talking about the real problems that are facing us. And Maryland's reaction to the regional must be stated here.
We're talking about Merlin Hildred,
Calvin Brady, how are you doing?
fantastic #1 all-state agent in this whole region. Say, is that region similar to the NACP region?
No, not quite.
Not
it's
quite.
Totally different locales. But I want to tell you, Calvin, you're really missing a regional convention.
Well, how can I miss it, Merlin, when you're there and you're telling us live and in living color what's happening at the NACP regional meeting there in Shreveport?
I would just love for you to be here because it reminds you of the days of the 60s where you have young people from all descriptions, all ages here for the purpose of continuing the fight for freedom.
Great, Merlin. You know, that is a very difficult fight. A lot of times that people fight, and it's very difficult for them to keep going because of so many obstacles that are thrown in their faces by friends, enemies, and from the most least expected corners. But the thing about the NACP I think is beautiful is the fact that so many people working for the same cause can do so much for the entire community.
Right, and I would like for those of you who are listening to this radio show, if you do not have your membership to the NACP, the oldest civil rights organization in the United States, please do so. Calvin, it's been a pleasure visiting with you. Man, now I was so proud of my baby sister this morning who represented the state of Oklahoma as mistress of ceremonies and presided at the meeting and conducted the elections for the time and place resolution and other committees. And here she is. Here's Little Shelley.
Little Shelley. We got Shelley Marie Luper. How are you doing, Shelley? Welcome to the Visit with Clara Luper radio show. And we want to know what you, the great Northeast cheerleader, you, the president of the NACP Youth Council, what's going on there in Shreveport, Louisiana?
As you were told earlier, I did preside over the business meeting this morning for the Youth Region 6 Conference. And I've had a wonderful time down here. The workshops have been great. I've gotten a lot of encouragement to take back to Oklahoma City with, and I've had a wonderful time.
Well, that's great, Shelley. Well, you tell me a little bit about some of the things that the Youth Council hopes to bring back this year from the regional meeting. Can you tell us some of the programs the NACP will be working on?
The programs that we're working on is to try and fight discrimination, and we brought out some of the different aspects that discrimination still exists, and we're also working with voters registration and a job fair.
Great. I bet we're also doing something in the NACP on the #1 killer in the ghetto, aren't we? Drugs.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. So many good things are happening. And the good place to start is at the regional meeting. What about Dante and Alicia? Will we have an opportunity to hear from them? Tell us what they're doing, too.
Well, just a minute. Here's Mom.
Here's Mom. Yes.
It's really a pleasure to talk to you. And
Well, Mom, it's just great talking to you, too.
We say a special hello, but I want you to really enjoy our treat. Today I heard an 11-year-old student, 11 years old, who was part of this group from Fort Worth, Texas, and I And he's just corrected me. He's part of King's Kids. These are a group of young people that are carrying on the work of Martin Luther King. And I want the people in Oklahoma to stand by as you hear an 11-year-old Eric Walker here from Shreveport, Louisiana, who's really from Fort Worth, Texas. Eric, it's all yours.
Hello, Eric. This is Calvin Luper here in Oklahoma City on the Clara Luper Radio Show. And tell us a little bit about the King Kids.
Well, the King's Kids are a group of girls and boys who study the life 12 months a year of Dr. Martin Luther King and study their black heritage through music.
Well, that sounds exciting. What are you all doing at the regional? What did the King's Kids do at the regional NACP meeting?
Oh, we was doing an act, like we were singing our black heritage songs and saying Dr. Martin Luther King's speeches.
Well, Eric, I know for Clara Luper to invite you on the show, there must be something special that you want to share with our intelligent listening audience here. Is it? If so, you have all the time you want to do it.
Okay. I've been to the mountaintop by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We have been forced to a point where we're going to have to grapple with the problems that men have been trying to grapple with through history. But the demands didn't force them to do it. Survival demands that we grapple with them. Men for years now have been talking about war and peace. But now no longer can they just talk about it. It's no longer a choice between violence and non-violence in this world. It's non-violence or non-existence. And also in the human rights revolution, if something isn't done in a hurry to bring the black people of the world out of their long years of poverty, their long years of hurt and neglect, the whole world is doomed. And if I lived in China, or even Russia, or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges, because they haven't committed themselves over there. But somewhere I read of freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of freedom of the press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest for rights. And so, just as I say, we're not going to let the injunction turn us around. We're going on. Let us rise up tonight with greater readiness. Let us stand with a greater determination. And let us move on in these powerful days. These days of challenge to make America a better nation. And I want to thank God once more for allowing me to be here with you. I don't know what will happen now. We have some difficult days ahead. But I'm not worried about that now. Because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Like anyone, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountaintop, and I looked over, and I see the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we as the people will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not for any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. I've been to the mountaintop. Calvin,
Eric.
This is Clara Luper here in Shreveport, Louisiana, where young people from Region 6 have gathered to show their talents, to learn about what's happening in the real world. I tremble for young people that are not getting the experiences that these young people are getting. Because when you start off in a race, unless you know the rules, unless you practice the rules, you cannot succeed. So from Shreveport, Louisiana, Clara Luper for KBYE Radio in Oklahoma City, who's now seen the president of the Oklahoma State Conference pass. I've just seen the president of the New Mexico Conference, the Texas Conference. This is Clara Luper, and this is
Dante Patterson.
And this is, they're coming around. This is
Nikai Perry.
and this is
Alicia Hilton.
And really from all of us here in Shreveport, Louisiana, we say to you in Oklahoma City, let's get on the ball, let's get our NAACP members, and we are dreaming. When I looked at these people from Louisiana who are so proud of the fact that their state was able to carry that state for Jesse Jackson, when I look at the materials that were passed out, I say thank God that I'm here today. And this is Clara Luper saying, wherever you are and whatever you do, just remember one thing, I do love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Mom. Exciting things always happen on the Clara Luper radio show. That was a live conversation with Clara Luper, Shelley Luper, who's the president of the NAACP Youth Council. Clara Luper is also the youth. So we'd like to welcome you to the show, but more importantly than that, we want you to sit back and do us a favor, relax, because we promise you a very exciting show today. We promise to talk to you about the things that you want to talk about. I want you right now to put down this number, 478-2103. That's going to be very important to you during the next 58 minutes because you will have an opportunity to be a part of today's Visit with Clara Luper Radio. You know, I'd like to bring you greetings from Clara Luper because of the fact that she's not able to be here personally with you right now, but we're looking for her to call because they're in Shreveport, Louisiana, where they're actively participating. When I say they, I'm thinking of, and I know that the Oklahoma City NAACP, the Oklahoma City NAACP Youth Council, are there in Shreveport, Louisiana, working with other NAACP units from across this region, working together for the betterment and the freedom and those type of activities that we need to help make our country, our city, our place a much better place. I'm lucky today because I have with me a very beautiful young school teacher, used to be a school teacher, but we promise you an exciting show. Those of you who are familiar with the Clara Luper Radio Show, at any time Mrs. Letty Ruth Hunter and I get together, it promises to be a very exciting show. So, Aunt Letty, I'd like to welcome you to today's Visit with Clara Luper Radio Show.
Thank you so very much, Calvin, and I want to say hello to all of the radio audience out there. And Calvin, let me report to you about Clara Luper. On last night, around 12:30, they called me from Louisiana to give me a report on the meeting. They did arrive safely, and they had checked into the hotels, and they had gone and registered and did the familiar things that they are to do upon arrival at a regional NAACP meeting.
That seems to be an exciting meeting coming up, isn't it?
That's right, and she was telling me about, especially Texas. You know, Texas always go there in big numbers, and they're doing big things. She said Texas bought their youth, and she was strictly interested, as you know, in youth. She said they were there with their youth, and they had a band. And they had all of those drums, a drummer band.
Well, Miss Turner, let's save some of this because we're just starting today's show. And today's show, I know there's a very special person out there that means a lot to you, that we would like to dedicate this show today to a young man that's been an asset to our community, a young man who's done a lot to help our entire community, a favorite person, because, you know, it's great to see good people out there doing great things, whether it be quietly or loudly. You know, you can tell a person by their actions. And this young man has done so much for so many here in our great city and our great state. Mrs. Hunter, before I dedicate this record, why don't you tell us a little more about our honoree today on the Visit with the Clara Luper Radio Show?
Calvin, I really would like to talk about this person because I've known the family so very, very long. And I'd like to make this a tribute to the Humphrey family. All of the Humphreys is here in Oklahoma City, and all of those that's still down home. And when I mention down home, I'm talking about Chandler, Oklahoma. Because they were here today, they were here in large numbers to give their last respect and tribute to a person named Samuel S. Humphreys. Now, as you know, Samuel Humphreys is a person who lives here in Oklahoma City. He also owned and operated a business on 23rd Street. He was a CPA, and he figured income taxes. And I regret so very much, you know, because I'm losing my income tax person. He has been ill for a long time. He was too ill last year to do my tax, and I just knew this year he was going to be able. But someone else saw fit that they needed him more than I. So today, I met at Tabitha Baptist Church to give my last tribute to Samuel S. Humphrey, and also to give my heartfelt sympathy to the entire family of Samuel S. Humphreys. Samuel Humphreys, as I told you, owned and operated a tax agency here in Oklahoma City. on 23rd Street. And when you go by Tabitha Church, where he was funeralized today, as the pastor said in his sermon, when we pass that building, we can always remember Humphreys. He told us that when they were wanting to build that building, they wanted it so many feet wide and so many feet long, and one contractor after another said, I cannot do it. And he said, the Lord sent Samuel to him, and Samuel told him, I can find a man that can build a building like we want it. And Samuel found that man and built not only the building, but installed all the pews for a lesser price than the man that was going to build it at a smaller fee. So as you go by Tabitha Baptist Church, and Tabitha Baptist Church is located at 1219 Northeast Grand Boulevard, you can look and see the works of Samuel S. Humphreys. And on the inside, he also was responsible for the architecture of that building. The pastor was really dedicated to the services and all of the things that Humphreys had done. And Humphreys had been the superintendent for many, many years. So therefore, all of you out there, I'd like for you to remember Samuel Humphreys.
And we're going to do that today on the show with a song, Remember Me. Great group. But this is to the family and the friends of a great young man here that made a mark, a great mark here in Oklahoma City, Mr. Samuel S. Humphreys. This song is dedicated.
We want to remember Samuel S. Humphreys. And we want to remember the family. We want to remember his wife, Anna Humphreys of the home. We want to remember the 4 daughters. We want to remember the 2 sons. We want to remember his 2 brothers. And we want to remember his 3 sisters and other nieces and nephews. Because his sisters were the persons that I was in school with. We want to remember the whole entire family. And we want the family to know that we are in sympathy with them. We want the family to know that there are persons who do care and always will share. We want the family to know that there's always someone greater than man. All we need to do is look up to the hills from which cometh our help. Because there is a power that's greater than man. And all we need to do is just believe, and he will remember you. Calvin?
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Mrs. Hunter. Today's show is being brought to you by the Soul Bazaar 1988. Soul Bazaar will be happening April the 29th, April the 30th. This year, April the 29th and April the 30th at the McFarland Branch YWCA. We'll be telling you a lot more about the Soul Bazaar, some of the people who will be there, some of the things going on, and you want to know about that. But in the meanwhile, I want you to remember this number, 478-2103. We want you to start calling now and to give us, talk with us about anything that you'd like to talk about, those things that are bothering you. I know a lot of you read the same Daily Oklahoman that I do, and you have probably cut out of the sports page the Final Four countdown. And there are a lot of people out there that are looking at TV and listening to the radio show too. And say, if they're not, why don't you do me a favor? Remind that friend, that husband, that wife of yours to make sure that they listen to today's A Visit with the Clara Luper radio show. Exciting things happen on this show. Exciting things happen all over this country. But specifically, they're at 50th and North Martin Luther King. Now, you're talking about a place where you can go and take care of a lot of business at one time. And that's the kind of place you need to go by. That's at Enterprise Square Place, 4901 North Martin Luther King Avenue. Said at the Enterprise Square Place, you have access there to the United States Post Office. You're close to a place that'll take care of all of your cleaning needs. A young man in there that can do miracles with your clothes, be they old, young, or new. Go in there and let old Carlos at Sherry's Cleaners, that's Sherry's Cleaners number 1. Why don't you go by there and give him an opportunity to work with your clothes, to clean them, to do your alterations. All that can happen at Sherry's Cleaners number 1 at 4905 North Martin Luther King Avenue, but also at Sherry's number 2 out there at Langston University. But I want you today to remember those places, but to call us here at 478-2103. We'll talk about anything that you want to talk about.
And if you cannot call, I'd like for you to turn your radio on and turn it on now. And I'm going to tell you where, because the number of you out there...
Their radio's on. Maybe
well, for those that do not know, because some of them may say, what time is it and where? So I want them to know that it's 8:90 on your dial, a.m., and we start at 2 p.m. So now if you're dialing that trying to find it, slow down because it's before you get to 90 and after you pass 80. So it's 890 on your dial.
I wish
AM.
I wish it would be so easy to get in contact with Michael Fulson or Mr. and Mrs. Jesse Orange with Orange and Sons Trucking Company. You know, or maybe even Joe Mosley, that star player with the OU girls basketball team. You know, I wish we could just tell them to make sure that they call us right here at KBYE. There's some great questions that we have to ask. Both Mike Fulson, Joe Mosley, Mr. and Mrs. Jess Orange, and you know, because we enjoy it here and we want to have a good time today, and we want you out there to have a great time.
Speaking of basketball and playing ball, Calvin, you know, something surprisingly happened. That is, as far as I'm concerned, it was really a surprise because, you know, my favorite school, where one of my favorite friends are working.
Langston?
No, this is high school.
Oh,
this
okay.
time. So now you can guess that.
Langston
school.
University. That's
my university. No, I'm talking about my high school. Where my
be specific with me today.
Spencer, Star Spencer. This is what I'm talking about. Do you know who won the tournament this year?
Miss Hunter, I don't know, and I bet somebody
Oh,
out there in our listening audience is just dying to tell me how great a team it must exist at Star Spencer High School, but I'm not
You mean
sure
you
if the
didn't see
girls
it in the
win.
media? You haven't heard it on the news?
I didn't hear it. I didn't see it.
Come on, Calvin.
I just didn't know. Who do you? I don't know.
Do you know
You think anybody out there would call us?
somebody?
And tell us?
I'm sure they will. Because they took state.
They took state.
Both boys and girls.
I thought that was Millwood that took state.
Oh, now, Calvin.
Well, Miss
you
Hunter,
know,
somebody
they
out
said
there
Spencer
out there
State.
better clear us up because
Well,
I know
it
if
was-
Dr. A.L. Dow, located at 934 Northeast 8th Street, knew that I couldn't read, that I didn't read today's paper, and it's basically because of my eyesight, then he would definitely want me to come by his office there at 934 Northeast 8th Street and have my eyes checked if I don't know who won all these championship high school games. But Miss Hunter, I was so involved in getting ready for the Final Four and following this great OU girls basketball team that I really didn't follow high school that
But
much
you got
this year.
to go start at high school before we can get up to the college because we get our talent from where? From where? The high school. And I know those coaches are going to be out there at Star Spencer looking for all of those top players that's out there at Star Spencer. Not only the boys took state, but the girls took state. So I'm
That's
sure
too
they're
much.
going to.
That's too much.
Really
there shouldn't
is.
be
It's
that
too
much talent at one school.
Well,
now, is there?
Well, it was. And
Well, you
I'm
know-
sure sorry that Clara's not here. Do you know John Marshall wasn't there? They didn't win. What happened? Oh, Clara's not here, so she can't tell me
Well,
that.
now, you know, you must realize John Marshall's a big school, but then it's difficult to believe that all those great things are happening from Star Spencer High School. But then that's what brought to mind a young lady named Joe Mosley and Clynette Jordan. Like Joe Mosley plays for the Oklahoma University's girls basketball
That's
team.
right.
And then there's Clynette Jordan that plays on the girls basketball team at OSU. And those two girls, I know that they're really doing outstanding collegiate type playing. But it's interesting to know that Star Spencer boys and Star Spencer girls
Took
may have
state.
come up,
Took state. Right.
Well, I don't know. Maybe somebody out there will call in and make sure that, because Miss Hunter, sometimes I believe you, but then I should believe what I hear. Anything you hear on the Clara Luper radio show, right here on KBY
Well, I don't know
radio
where
show,
Miss
you know
Nancy
it's good.